What the fuck's up, everybody? The fucking draft is over, motherfuckers. What the fuck's up, everybody? The fucking draft is over, motherfuckers.
What's up, everybody? It is post-draft season. It's in the bag. Mainly, we're talking about the off-season moves. The biggest moves the Cowboys have made are pretty much in the bag, Mike. I mean, you might have some guys that you sign here and there leading up to mini camp. Obviously, you got to bring some bodies there. Rookie mini camp, they'll bring in some arms to throw to sling the ball around, that sort of thing. But Mike, the draft is in the bag. Free agency, for the most part, is in the bag. Did the Cowboys do enough to improve their top needs this offseason?
Oh man, it's so hard to say, Joe. I know I say that every year, right? This time every year, I'm like, oh, it's so hard to say. But I like that they went Mozzie Smith first round, all right? Because our first mock draft that we did right here on the Frisco Report, Joe, interior lineman, it was something that we knew was a need for this football team. Yes, it's a cop out answer because they didn't get signed Jonathan Hankins, but even though they still added Jonathan Hankins, you look at what Neville Gallimore's doing, you're really not impressed, right? With Neville Gallimore and his production. And so they go get Mozzie Smith. So you knew even with the signing of Jonathan Hankins that they still needed that. They went to go get it. Dalton Schultz went to the Texans, and are you going to bet on Ferguson and Hendershot to really do something there? So they went to go get that tight end, Schoonmaker, right? And so, you look at needs, quote unquote needs. I think they filled it. Now, did they fill it with the right people to be determined? But did they fill it at the right time in the draft? They could have done a little better, but that's who they drafted, and that's what it is, Joe.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way to look at it. It is to be determined, right? Everything is on paper, right? Uh, you can say I mean, there's people that say we had a bad draft. There's people that say we had a good draft. It's all on paper, right?
Right.
But I feel confident that they did good. They did get good players. Now it's a matter of executing and making sure these guys can contribute because we did have holes that needed to be filled. You did sign a couple of short term guys with Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. All right. So offensively, Mike, though, the only thing that I really wanted to come out of this offseason was with at least you know another playmaker somewhere. An additional receiver or a maybe another running back. I kind of wanted the Cowboys to go after Jamal Williams. The short yardage guy, the thumper. He had a lot of touchdowns last season for Detroit. But I think they're going to go with Ronald Jones. They'll give him a shot, but he's not a lock to make this team. We get a lot of free agents that have some name notoriety. Sometimes they don't even make the team. So they brought in Deuce Vaughn, Mike, Who in your mind? We'll start with him because this is a probably the most interesting story of the draft. Deuce Vaughn. How do you get him on this 53-man roster, Mike?
How do you get him, Joe? It's up to him, right? You look at him and his dad had a conversation before the Dallas Cowboys drafted him. He said, "It's not the time, it's the place. It's not the time, it's the place." That's what he told Deuce, right? And I think the Cowboys can be the place for him, but it's up to him to take advantage of those opportunities. I mean, you talk about Jerry Jones talking about there's still a Zeke signing possibility, right? So if they bring in Pollard, we know Tony Pollard's number one. They bring back Zeke, he's going to be number two. Malik Davis is going to be number three. Why? Because he knows this offense. Deuce Vaughn's going to be the four-string running back, okay? Those reps are minimal. So how does Deuce Vaughn make this team, Joe? Preseason. Deuce Vaughn has to make preseason. Deuce Vaughn has to stay healthy. Deuce Vaughn has to make plays. Deuce Vaughn might have to learn how to play special teams, whether that's punt returner, kickoff returner, but there's still a Turpin back there, right? So Deuce Vaughn has a lot in front of him that he has to overcome, but it's up to him if he wants to do it. Darren Sproles, 5'6", made a career in the National Football League. Deuce Vaughn can do the same thing, but he has to be able to win the preseason, Joe, make an impression. Turpin made the Pro Bowl because of the preseason, okay?
Yeah.
Deuce Vaughn can make a roster because of the preseason. It's he just has to go out there and make plays. And I mean, he's quick, he's fast, he can cut up the field. I don't think there's any fumble history with him. I don't think anybody can touch him really once he hits that hole. He's a very patient running back, but the odds are still stacked up against him with where he's at on this football team.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's the thing about the later round picks. That is an uphill battle. No matter what the story is, whatever the hell it is, you still, like you said, Mike, you gotta make it. It's not gonna be given to you. But that's going to be a very interesting storyline that every fan will be watching very closely. I'm definitely rooting for him. You know what I mean? I've already called him the Rudy of the Dallas Cowboys. Man, so I want to see that story come to fruition and beat somebody out. But free agency in the bag. The Cowboys did what they did. They were a little bit more active this year. They traded 2 5s for Cooks and Gilmore, something that they haven't really done before. Hopefully, this is a model for things to come. Flip some of these late picks for some vets and give yourself some depth. I think that's a good. I think it's a good formula. It should be a good formula. We'll see. They're going to put it into practice. We'll see if these guys stay healthy and can continue to be an impact to the roster, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want that story to come to life, right? I mean, and make it. I'm sure he'll make the 53 because he has some dog in him, Joe. He's quick, he's fast, but we'll see how he turns out. Definitely, and not just Cowboy fans keeping an eye on it. I mean, the Deuce Vaughn went viral, all right, and there's a lot of fans on a lot of teams rooting for this cat.
Indeed it is. It's a badass story. Now, we talked about Mozzie. We talked about Deuce. Let's talk about the draft class as a whole, Mike. What was your favorite pick and what was your least favorite pick? And everybody in the chat box, I want to know yours too. What was your favorite pick and what was your least favorite pick? All right, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat box. Mike, who do you have?
I'm going to start negative first, Joe. My least favorite pick was the last pick of the draft. Jalen Brooks, Joe. Yes, he has the height, he has the weight, but the guy runs a 4.7, Joe. I mean, that you don't even have room for special teams at a 4.7 mark. Jalen Brooks definitely got training camp written all over him. Oh, he reminds me of Dez. Noah Brown reminded people of Dez too, and Noah Brown's no longer on this football team. Noah Brown made a couple of good catches, and Noah Brown let us down a lot. So don't compare to anybody. Jalen Brooks is who Jalen Brooks is. My least favorite pick was the last pick of the day, Joe. My favorite pick, Joe, I mean, we talk about it all the time. This is what we're talking about right here on the Frisco Report, the Baconator. All right. Mozzie Smith. The dude is huge, okay? I mean, just looking at him with Dorrance Armstrong, looking at him beside Osa Odigizua. The dude is massive. And I hope he can translate. Yes, he didn't have a stellar production there at Michigan, but there's potential there. Dan Quinn is a defensive lineman coach at heart. Before a defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn is a line coach, all right? Dan Quinn can coach Mozzie Smith up just like he did Oso Digizua, just like he did Quentin Bohanna. And he can make things happen. As Micah Parsons said, no more QB sneaks.
No more QB sneaks. It's a big deal. It's a big deal here. Okay, because the middle of the defense. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, Mike. The middle of the defense.
Yeah,
I feel really good what they did. My least favorite pick as well. And I thought my least favorite pick, is going to be the pick there that number 6 where he went back and got Eric Scott Jr.
Okay.
And this is to be determined. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that
Southern Miss.
to me this just feels like another Dan Quinn. Give me a long, lanky kind of guy. Runs upper 4.4s, 4.5. This type of thing. I mean, he's got the measurables, this types of things, but not a Power 5 type of player. To me, it's a roll the dice guy. I think that 5 that you gave up for next year, it could have been something that you kind of did this year. Flip the 5 and go get you a vet who might be available, next off seasons. But we don't have that one now. We gave it up for Eric Scott Jr. So you better beat somebody out. He probably is going to be the guy that could knock out Kelvin Joseph. Kelvin Joseph, to me, Mike, is on his last days here. You know what I mean? Even with the 6th round cornerback. But yeah, that was kind of my least favorite one there. There were some other names there that I kind of liked more than that one there. But it's not to say maybe he'll come out of here and be badass, and I'll eat my words. But that's my least favorite. My favorite, Mike, Mozzie Smith, bro. I'm with you, man. I love the number 1 pick there. Finally got us one here in the first round. It's been 30 plus years since we've done it. I think we're looking at what,
Western
32
Maryland was the
years.
last one.
Yeah, so very long time, man. Very long time. This guy, he has the real deal. He's got all the measurables, the get off, the strength, the power. So he's not going to get overblown. He's a big guy, but he plays big. You know what I mean? This isn't like a Quentin Bohanna who looks big but gets kind of run over every now and then, right? So I like the combination here, Mike, that you have with Osa as your 3 tech, guy.
Yes.
Athletic. And then next to him, Mozzie Smith. I mean, that's a beautiful sight right there. That's a beautiful sight, man.
It is.
And it's a good template, bro, because you look at Washington all these years with the big Bama guys. Teams have a hard time running on them, man, for a reason. I mean, there's something to be said about these defensive big guys as first round guys. I mean, they just extended their defensive tackle there to a big amount of money. You know what I mean? So these guys make plays, man. They make plays and they force your offense to go a different route. You know what I mean? Like, beat me with your arm, beat us with your aerial attack, because we're shutting your run game down. So that's my favorite pick, man. I think Mozzie Smith could have a huge impact on this team, Mike.
No, for real. And you talked about your starters, Joe. You look at the depth. Okay, let's say Oso Digizua and Mozzie Smith get tired. They need to get pulled. You're bringing in Chauncey Goldston, and you're going to have Quentin Bohanna there. I mean, you're going to have quality. Jonathan Hankins going to be there too. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We're going to be fresh up front with the Baconators, Joe. Philosophy, Rod Marinelli. He's officially out of here, Joe. We got beef.
Yeah, we definitely got beefed up, man. And I talked about this yesterday, that when Dan Quinn came in here, I'm pretty sure they sat at the table and said, "Give us the roadmap. How do you fix this dead last defense that we had under what was his name?
Nolan.
Under Nolan. How do you how do you rebuild this shit? Because it's a complete disaster. And I think this is still,
Mike
you know, yeah, I think this is a big part of that plan that came to fruition. You know what I mean? Just Mozzie Smith, Overshown, Junior Fahoko, bro. Mike, it's an interesting pick as well.
Yeah.
Because it's another guy here that these are all the common denominator here is run stuffers, tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So Fahoko, Overshown, and Mozzie Smith, that's their bread and butter. So you throw these guys into the mix, and then you have you have your pass rushers that are in the mix, right? So D-Law and obviously the Lion of Lions, Michael Parsons. So how scary could this defense be, Mike?
Oh, it can be absolutely scary, Joe. I mean, sacks and turnovers is one thing that Dan Quinn completely changed around for the Cowboys defense. Sacks and turnovers. Turnovers were non-existent, Joe. Sacks was there, right? But it wasn't at a high level. I mean, Dan Quinn comes in here, you're getting the ball with picks. You got sacks coming. And one thing, Joe, we couldn't do was stop the run. I mean, that was just the same old Cowboys can't stop the run, right? And now you look at what he's doing. Oso Digizua, Quentin Bohanna, Mozzie Smith, Junior Fahoko, all right? Junior Fahoko. I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. Fahoko has to gain some weight. I think he needs to get about 15 to 17 pounds on him if he wants to be a rotational piece there. Kick Novell Gallimore out. Your services are no longer needed. But before we do that, we got to make sure Fahoko can play. so let's make sure Fahoko can play before we kick him out of here. But right here, right? Fahoko is slotted playing possibly inside of the edge. He can play both, but I think where they want Fahoko is where they want his cousin at, all right? Vita Vea. His cousin Vita Vea plays right there. They want Fahoko to play where his cousin plays, all right? Get in the nasties of the nasty.
Yeah, man. It's a great question here by Slava Ukrainian Max. Fahoko slotted to play on the inside to the edge. What do you think about that? So our new defensive line coach, Sharif Floyd, the monster of monsters. We almost drafted this guy. Remember Sharif Floyd? I think he had a knee issue or something like this, and the Cowboys they kind of bumbled that, but ended up being the right move. But Sharif Floyd is one of the new defensive line coaches here, and he said that in his interview with DallasCowboys.com, saying that he's looking at him and as the inside guy. So yeah, he's definitely going to get the kind of attention that a Tyron Crawford kind of got. Where he's this kind of flex guy, right, who can play on the outside and the inside. And this guy is also similar to another player that we drafted here, just here recently out of Iowa, Mike. He's kind of playing in that similar type of role here. So I'm hoping that you can get more out of Fahoko. You know what I mean? So interesting indeed. But he has a knack for getting behind the line of scrimmage and doing, those tackles for loss. That is his bread and butter there. Appreciate the question there, bro. Appreciate that very much indeed. Primetime Phil in the house. I like this one here. I liked Overshown. Can do a lot of different things. Just none of them great. Interested to see what DQ can do with him, hit or miss. Mike, I'll let you hit this one first, and then I'll chime in.
No, shout out to Primetime Phil. Almost 2 years. Next month will be 2 years of a membership for Cowboys Block. That's awesome, Primetime Phil. Appreciate all that support you give to that channel there. I like Overshown. All right, can do a lot of different things. Just none of them great. Okay, no, Primetime Phil. I knew you were a smart man. I think a lot of people are overhyping the Overshown pick, Joe. Because, what are you talking about, Mike? I've seen his highlights. Watch his highlights. We're going to watch his highlights. The dude can't tackle. Watch the tape. The guy can't tackle, Joe. Yes, he can hit the hole 1,000 miles an hour, but he can't tackle. I mean, we can go back to the days where this defense just couldn't tackle. We can bring back in Brandon Carr. We can bring back Bruce Carter, right? We can bring back all these guys who can't tackle because Overshown. It's all about the name. Now he's gonna play. He's gonna be that J-Ron Curse type of player, but let the kid develop. All right. Oh, Jabril Cox, Jabril the Steel. Right. We fell for it. Jabril's about to get cut.
Yeah.
Jabril's about to get cut. All right.
Yeah.
So let's pump the brakes. Let Overshown show us something, and let's see what he can bring. He has all the potential. He has it. I want to see what DQ can do with them. You're absolutely right, Primetime Phil. Great question, great thoughts. 100% agree with you. I'm not on the overhype for Overshown, all right? I'm on let's see what the kid can do because the kid can't tackle. He just can't.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go with him. You know, we got the new linebacker coach, McCurley, right? So he's taking over there. He definitely likes him. I think that his bread and butter is going to be more like big nickel, you know, kind of like J-Ron Curse, you know. And then they mentioned that in their post draft, right? In the post draft conference that yeah, they do kind of see that potential there for him, which is good, you know, because you need your linebackers to be able to cover tight ends, running backs on the on the swing, so on wheel routes and these sorts of things. So I think it's a good move for the Cowboys there with Overshown. But I'm with you, Mike, and I apply that to all the rookies, right?
True.
All the ones that were drafted and all the undrafted guys. It's always super overhyped season because it's all on paper right now. You know what I mean? So once the lights come on, we're going to see because we saw it last year with Jalen Tolbert, right? He's a prime example of when the bright lights come on, he disappeared, bro. So you know, we got to stay cognizant of that. Make sure that these guys, you know, they don't crumble under the bright lights. Great comment there, Primetime Phil. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you
Smart
very
man.
much
Very
indeed.
smart man.
Super chat. Give me cash. Joe Rod, the only thing pissing me off right now is a casual fan saying, oh, let's bring Zeke back home. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
You want me to touch on this?
Yeah. You hit this one up first, Mike.
Give me cash. Primetime Field, give me cash. All these guys are on the money, honey. All right. Yes. The people that want Zeke back are the people cheering. I don't want them ever to cheer or complain of not cheer. I take that back. I don't want them to ever complain about 27 years of football winning droughts. All right. Because that's the reason, Joe. Jerry Jones hangs on to players too dang. I mean, Tony Romo got to the point where he couldn't even walk on the field and he would break something. All right. Yeah. The dude got hurt in a preseason game where his snaps were limited, Joe, and he got hurt. Because why? We held on to him too long. Sean Lee, he couldn't run 3 yards without tearing a hamstring. We held on to him too long. Right. So that's all about this. We appreciate the greats. We do. We love them. They're enshrined in our memory forever. But do you want to be a parody of yourself? And that's where Zeke's at. All right. Zeke ain't going to be the Zeke of 16, 17, and half of 18. All right. No. It's just not going to work that way. So let's leave the greatness that are enshrined into our memory. Let's leave that be, because the Zeke that I'm seeing can play good about 4 weeks, and that 5th week he's running out of bounds because he can't get hit because his knees hurt. All right, that's the Zeke that I see. We have to stop all this. Bring Zeke back, pantry, because it's ridiculous, Joe. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. The only scenario that I would ever think that this could happen is if Zeke remains unsigned and you suffer some sort of injury to one of your backs, and you want to bring somebody that knows the system, somebody that can do short yardage. But I'm with you. The ship has sailed. You know what I mean? Oh well, what about the hype video that he just released? I mean, anybody can do these things, bro. Like. Yeah, Dez did it, right? I mean, Odell Beckham did it, and he poked the eyes out of the Ravens, right? I mean, just off of a hype video. He didn't look good. Odell doesn't look good out there, man. So, hype videos, they're out there for a reason. You know what I mean? So they want somebody to bite. You know what I mean? And somebody
Oh,
might, but for the Cowboys, yeah, it's time to move on, man. You got to get the new blood in here going. Give me cash. I'm with you there, bro. I'm with you there, indeed, very much.
facts. Smart people in the Frisco report today. Very
Indeed,
smart.
indeed, indeed. Mike, one area here, and I gotta ask everybody in the chat box this as well. So, wide receiver, Mike, was not addressed at all until the seventh pick, which is your least favorite pick, Jalen Brooks. Uh,
Nah, well,
should they
yeah,
have gone earlier?
yes and no. I mean, it's hard because they're banking on. We lost Noah Brown. We lost Cedric Wilson, right? I mean, those are two back-to-back years, all right? Michael Gallup's coming off that ACL, was a shell of himself. Can he come back and play a little better after more time off, right? And during this offseason. Brandon Cook's coming in here. And then you got CD Lamb, right? So they're betting on Michael Gallup right here. We know Brandon Cooks is there, but Brandon Cooks has a health problem. All right. Time for somebody to say it. Quit hyping Brandon Cooks up like he's Brandon Cooks from 5-6 years ago. All right. Yes, he's been productive, but we got to stop. He's been hurt. So the Cowboys could have protected themselves better, with that, but they didn't because I think they're banking on Michael Gallup, who they restructured. So they believe in him, right? Because it pushes him into next year on this Cowboys team, right? So they're banking on Michael Gallup. They're hoping CeeDee Lamb and Dak can stay on that same page that they were on last year, and they're hoping that the guy who they traded for, Brandon Cooks, can come in here and put up some production, right? Because 600 yards is missing on this offense. And that's what Dalton Schultz brought, a couple of 100 yards. So you got to replace 1,000 yards. Michael Gallup bring that 1,000 yards in? Can Brandon Cooks bring that 1,000 yards in and expand on that 1,000 yards? Can he turn that 1,000 to 1,700 yards? They're banking on Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup to get that collectively, and CeeDee Lamb to cook. All right. But when you go get a guy like Jalen Brooks, Joe, in the 7th round, who runs a 4.7, I can't take you serious, Cowboys. And that's why I'm saying they're banking on Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks to get that Dalton Schultz production in here.
And then and this is where I think the Cowboys are rolling the dice on their season because you know, if Lamb were to go down, knock on wood, or get dinged up in the playoff game, who's going to pick that up? Who's going to move the chains, right? We saw what happened with Pollard. When Pollard went down, the offense, it was crippled.
Done.
That was it. 12 points. And they were doing a pretty good job, against the 49ers. But, yeah, man, I think it's interesting because, like you said, banking, right? And I see it. I see it in the chat box too. It's a lot of banking, a lot of hoping. If those banks and hopes don't hit, the offense is in trouble. So you got to hope that Cook stays healthy for a good part of the season because he will get dinged up. He's been traded 4 times. You don't get traded 4 times if you're a badass receiver. Okay.
No.
So yeah, Mike, you hit it on the head there with the health. That is a legit thing there. So if you can get Brandon Cooks for a good part of your season and Michael Gallup, I think you will be in pretty good shape. But those are 2 big what ifs. The wild card here, Mike, Jalen Tolbert. What do you expect from Jalen Tolbert in year 2? Anything, or is this going to be a complete utter bust of a 3rd round pick? What are you feeling about this one?
That's the emphasis, Joe. The 3rd round pick. Tolbert. We need him to do something. Someone said it right here in the comment section. They said we're banking on Tolbert, and that's sad because Tolbert should have came in here and played. And I don't know if it was Kellen Moore. I don't know if it was the wide receivers coach. Somebody said he's not ready. Jalen Tolbert came out this offseason and said, I wasn't ready. I was still learning, right? So he's not learning something. Can the Cowboys, can Dak Prescott, the true leader that Dak Prescott is, right? Oh, he's a leader. He's a leader first before he's a winner. That's what I always hear. Leader first, right? Can the leader, Dak, get Jalen Tolbert on the same page? Can the Dak field work for Jalen Tolbert? Can it work for Dak? Because that's where you need Dak to come in. Dak wanted them to draft Jalen Tolbert. Dak was texting Jalen Tolbert before he got picked by the Cowboys, right? Dak has to figure this out with his boy, and he needs to figure it out fast. Because if you're banking on Tolbert and you're banking on an injured Michael Gallup and you're banking on a health, Joe, you said it already. It's a recipe to make your team.
Yeah, it's true, man. And we talked about it during the first report here on the draft. Where they don't throw attention to is going to be what they're going to need to throw attention to next season. So this year, a lot of hope and this and that, crossing fingers, crossing toes, that the receivers are going to be okay. If that experiment doesn't work, then that'll be what they look at for next offseason. So we'll see how it looks. Army Mom Heather C. I like this one here. We're banking on October to be Jimmy Smith. I would love if he would be Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith, Cowboys drafted him. For those that remember, Cowboys drafted Jimmy Smith. They ended up letting him go, and he ended up being one of the all-time greats for the Jaguars, Jimmy Smith, the receiver. So, if Tolbert can turn into a Jimmy Smith in a year or two, and just the light comes on, that would be perfect. That would solve a lot of problems there. So we'll see, man. Mike, let's touch on the undrafted free agency that the Cowboys did here. Do you have a name or two of guys that kind of stand out to you that you're going to be looking at during camp and mini camp?
Yeah, Joe, absolutely. TJ Bass is going to be my first guy. Offensive lineman out of Oregon, 6'4", 317. He was projected a 5th, 6th round, Joe. And TJ Bass coming in here, he could play left tackle, he could play left guard, all right? I know they got a Sim Richards in the draft, Joe, but watch out for TJ Bass. It's a guy that people could fall in love with. The potential for him is there. Yeah, he's an undrafted free agent. Guess what? Dallas Cowboys, one thing they can do is make an undrafted free agent a Hall of Famer. All right, that's one thing that the Cowboys can do. So I'm looking at TJ Bass there. I think that was a steal. And then you look at golly, Isaiah Land, Florida A&M, 6'4", 215. He reminds me. He just needs to get a little bigger. All right. He reminds me of Kamara. I don't know if y'all remember that from Hard Knocks, the little guy. The Cowboys cut him, but he kind of reminds me of him. But the Kamara was a lot faster than he is. But I think there's some potential there with Isaiah Land in there. I think Isaiah Land's going to come in hungry. He's very small, but I think if you stand him up and rush on the edge, I want to see how Dan Quinn uses Isaiah Land there, Joe. But yeah, that would be my two. If I could only give two, I want to give more, but that's just the only thing I got. TJ Bass out of Oregon and Isaiah Land.
Those are good, man. Those are good ones to keep an eye on. My two are going to be Tyrus Wheat, the outside linebacker out of Mississippi State. Mississippi State, pretty good at putting reliable, well coached up linebackers into the NFL, and the Cowboys had him here. He's a 6'3" linebacker, 240. 3-year start out of Mississippi State, just a tackling machine for them. For him to be undrafted and for the Cowboys to pick him up, I think this is going to be a good move for the Cowboys. Somebody might be able to surprise somebody. He'll be competing with your Devin Harpers of the world, and try to win a spot in special teams. But if he can give you this type of pass rush and run defense that he did at Mississippi State, he would be another guy that could surprise some people and just make this defense that much better. My second guy, who's actually getting a lot of hype right now, is the fullback, Hunter Lepke out of North Dakota State, the 6'4", 255-pound fullback. Right? Cowboys really don't use fullbacks here. You know what I mean? It's kind of a dying breed in the NFL. Cowboys, they do bring them to camp, though. You know what I mean? We've had a couple here that looked like they were going to maybe be something, and they just ended up not making the team, or maybe just a practice squad guy. But what I like about Hunter is he to me is more like a halfback. He's a fullback, yes, but he can catch out of the backfield, and I think that
Jameez Awalier.
yeah, I think that part of the game is what will separate him from the other guys, the other backs, or these types of things. So he could compete for, if they go four deep at tight end, he could technically be that type of hybrid fullback type tight end, halfback type of guy. So he's one that I'm very interested in looking at. So yeah, everybody in the chat box, who do you guys like? I see Bass. We got a couple of people in the chat box talking about Bass as well. I think that's gonna be interesting to look at, Mike, because
Yeah.
Farniak, I think they probably want him to compete more for center with him and Lindstrom probably, and guard. I think he might be onto something there. If Bass can show up in our preseason, it'd be awesome.
No, everyone's hitting it right on the head about Mike McCarthy loves fullbacks. He absolutely loves fullbacks. The last fullback this team had was Jameez Awalier, and Hunter kind of fits that trait, Joe.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what it is, man. So how many backs might this team, end up taking this year? It's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna be
Elliott won't be one of them.
yeah, it's gonna be high competition for the backs, tight ends. These are very coveted positions here, obviously for the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. You know
Boom.
what I mean? America's team. Mike, I think this. I think we put a pretty big bow on this here for the post draft. Our thoughts here, and I'm going to touch on here on some of the free agents. And any other thoughts here before we cut out this evening, Mike?
No, guys, hey, draft is over. It's about to be quiet season. It's going to be these little rookie mini camps. So you're not going to get anything. Mike McCarthy does not share anything to the media, so it's going to be real quiet. So pay attention, double check sources, because it's about to be a dead zone up until July. So we're approaching that, Joe. So enjoy as much football as you can, and catch us here. I don't know how we're going to rotate our schedule. I'm sure we'll pop in every now and then right here on the Frisco Report, but just be careful out there. There's a lot of clickbaiters. Want your donations, want your money, want your clicks, want everything. But just hang tight. Football will be here before you know it.
Yeah, Mike hit it on the head, man, and that's why we have the fan base that we have here. Because I mean, we give it to you real. We're not gonna be giving you rainbows and unicorns and this kind of shit, right? And falling for all the hype stuff. We want a championship. Mike and I, that's it. We want a championship. We don't want excuses, and we're not about all the silly stuff that goes on around here. So that's where we're at, guys. Like Mike said, we'll pop in here. We'll probably definitely come back here for a post rookie minicamp. We'll touch up on that. Who's turning heads and this and that. So get ready for it. The turning of the heads. All right. But that's all we have tonight, guys. Mike, let everybody know where they can find you if they haven't already, bro.
Yeah, _ Cowboys Corner on Twitter, guys. I gotta figure out how to take that underscore out. But I think I hit like 500 followers on Twitter, dude. I don't even know how that happens. I don't even know what that is. But if you follow me, I'll follow you back. I got 500 on there. It's crazy. Don't know how that happened. Cowboys Corner right here on YouTube, baby. The best, authentic, realist, the real. All right, right there on Cowboys Corner right here on YouTube. So, guys, subscribe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hit my boy up. That's all we have tonight, guys. We'll see you for the next one, guys. Peace.